And our third speaker, our final speaker this evening, Gordon Yee, the Big V. The Big V, Gordon Yee.
I will never forget that look on Evan's face. He was just 2 years old, and I walked into the kitchen to find him standing there, just laughing and giggling, with a cookie in one hand and a cat by the tail in the other. Milk was dripping off the counter behind him, and the whole kitchen was a wreck around his feet. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, that was the time that my wife and I looked at each other, and we just knew that was it. We're done. We are not going to have any more kids. The problem, though, as my wife explained it to me later that night, was that ensuring that our family wasn't going to grow anymore had always been something that she had taken care of. Now it was time for me to do my part. That's right. I was going to go and get the Big V. I did lots of research beforehand, and I found what had to be the best doctor in the whole city to do this procedure for me. I mean, he must have been good, because it took over 6 months just to get an appointment with him. Must be good, right? Well, that's what I thought. I didn't realize at the time that they always give you 6 months between contacting them and scheduling this appointment, because they're going to give you 6 months to chicken out of it. But that first meeting, it turns out they're only going to tell you what they're going to do, and then they actually schedule the procedure for a week later. So you don't have enough time to chicken out of it. 6 months later, I'm there in the doctor's office, and he's telling me exactly what he's going to be doing, down to the smallest detail. And I'm sitting across from him, and I'm doing my best to not hear a single word. And he said to me at one point, "Are you and your wife sure that you don't want to have any more kids?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Are you sure that you and your wife don't want to have any more kids?" And I said, "Yes, we are absolutely sure. We are done having kids." Great, we finalized the appointment for the next week, and he gave me a list of things that I had to go to the store and buy. By the way, there were only 2 things on that list: several bags of frozen peas and a disposable razor. So the day of my procedure rolls around, and before I leave the house, I make sure that all the peas are in the freezer, and I made sure to have used that disposable razor, and a whole can of shaving cream, too, it turns out. I probably really should have skipped the aftershave, though. So I get to the doctor's office, and I'm greeted there by this very cute nurse. And she shows me into the procedure room, and she says, "Here's what I need you to do. You're going to strip from the waist down, hop up onto the table, put your feet into the stirrups, and then for your modesty, you can cover yourself with the towel." I never thought that anyone would ever tell me to put my feet into stirrups when there was not a horse anywhere to be seen. But more importantly to me at the time, towel? Where's the towel? And that's when she turned to this little table next to her, and she pulled out this towel. She passed it up to me, just staring at me. And I took it from her, and I looked at this towel for my modesty. She just kept on staring. I swear, it felt like it was forever. And then finally she just said, "Okay," and she turned around and she walked out of the room to leave me there with my modest little towel. So I did what I'm supposed to do. I stripped from the waist down, hop up onto the table, I pretended like I was riding a horse and put my feet into the stirrups. And I had just barely positioned this towel over my modesty when she and the doctor come right back in, and that towel, boom. It spent more time in the air than it spent on me. But the two of them, they're real professionals. They get straight to work. She's there, she's putting up drapes. He's down there with needles and syringes and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to know, because at one point, I saw smoke. But what am I doing throughout the whole thing? I'm cracking jokes, one after another. I can't help myself. It was so bad that I said to the doctor, "Listen, Doc, I'm sorry. I deal with stress by making jokes, and I had to be sure that you wouldn't get a sense of the giggles. Without missing a beat, he just said, don't worry, I'm rock solid. I had 3 scotches at lunch. I looked down at him. He looks up at me and says, well, you don't think I could do this type of work sober, do you? Folks, that's when I knew that I had found the perfect doctor for me. I found one with a sense of humor who could set me at ease. And the whole procedure went great. An hour later, I was at home with a cold beer in one hand and a bag of frozen peas in the other. Over my recovery for the next week, I admit, I'm a guy. I milked it for everything I could. I got out of everything I could do around the house. But eventually, I started to feel kind of guilty. And I was just thinking as I walked into the house one day that I need to start pulling my weight again. And that's when I walked in and I saw Marisa and our 7-year-old Quentin sitting down to do his homework. And Evan, our 2-year-old, was just starting this horrible temper tantrum. So Marisa said to me, can you just do me a favor and take him away? Of course, I said, no problem. And as I go over to Evan and I put my hands on his hips, the temper tantrum just melted away. He started to laugh and to giggle. And that's when I noticed that he had a cookie in one hand and a cat by the tail in the other. Whoop! Now, I don't know if I didn't hear anything because all the blood had drained from my head, or if it was because I'd sucked all the air out of the room. But I have a very clear memory of looking up through my tear-filling eyes and seeing Marisa as she came and scooped that up and just gently backed away. My back found the wall behind me and I started sliding down. And I was just thinking to myself, that is it. I am done. There is now absolutely no way I can ever have any more kids. Mr. Conner.